forgot how to do all this. What do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands? All right, let's do it. Let's get it. I'm excited, baby. It's a Friday. We've got news for days. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we have a fantastic show for you today. I've been off streaming for a couple of days, and the nerdy world has just kept on going. A lot of crazy stuff out there in the news. And so we're going to go over, we're going to catch up, we're going to hang out together today. And we're going to start with the Superman trailer, right? I know this was a couple of days ago now, but I think the Superman trailer is obviously a pretty big deal. I had some thoughts, put some thoughts in a video. We talked a little bit about it on Discord as well. But I figured we'd get into it a little bit today. I'll talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I don't. And then I think there's like a big question mark on whether or not this trailer was very successful. And I think that's sort of fair. There's been some interesting commentary from other, content creators and nerds out there online. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There is a massive story about Dave Filoni and Star Wars that frankly has been mischaracterized by almost everybody that's been reporting on it. I have been talking about this a little bit here and there over the past couple of weeks and months. Part of this was in the big video I made about the scoops for Ahsoka Season 2. I had indicated in that video and in that report that I had heard there was something of a civil war going on at Lucasfilm and that certain parties wanted a revamp of the brand. Well, the story that we're going to talk about today will get into a little bit more of the details of what's going on with that, and I'm going to explain the context because it's pretty wild. And I think that, I think whether you're a big Andor fan or not, right? Because I know a lot of people like Andor, or at least the motherfuckers that are on the internet did. So, even if you like Andor, if you're one of those people that really enjoyed it, you still need to hear that there is a battle for the identity of Star Wars going on behind the scenes. And so I'll try to do some somewhat straight reporting on it. And then I will also give you my take and how I feel about all of this, which I'm sure some of you can anticipate as well. We're going to get into X-Men stuff, man. Lots of X-Men stuff. But I dropped a video earlier today that's all X-Men. It's insane. Go check it out. We go into like set leaks, photos, all kinds of weird stuff because they're filming a massive fucking battle right now. But some of the stuff we're going to talk about on stream is also in the video from earlier. That would include the casting stuff, Black Magneto, Black Charles Xavier, the fact that the movies are going to focus around Charles, Jean, and Cyclops. A lot of interesting stuff. So we'll break all of that down. And there's context there too. And I think like all the topics today, we're going to have a really good Q&A, man. These are all somewhat hot button topics. And look, I mean, we're all here because we're big nerds and we love this stuff and we're passionate about it. And we're going to feel passionate about it one way or the other. And I have no problem with that. So we're going to talk about that later on in the show. We'll get into Q&A. File your grievances in the box. We'll get to them then. There is a little bit of stuff about Spider-Man 4, which we'll touch on. We'll talk a little bit about Spider-Man 4. And then, of course, I want to just briefly touch on that Gears of War movie because, baby, that Gears of War movie, they got a good writer. They got a good director. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, show notes. What do you need to keep in mind? What are we doing? What the hell happened to Josh? He's been gone for 2 days. He's banning everybody on the Discord. Is this dude losing his mind? I mean, not any more than usual, frankly. Here's what I'll say, though. I'll say this. I want to do a community stream tonight. I know not everybody will be able to be there. It's last minute. The time's going to be weird. We're going to go live at 6 p.m. I know that's a weird time on a Friday for people, but it just works out with my schedule. My mom's coming up to get Liam. She's actually taking Liam for a little grandma weekend. So the wife and I can just spend time with Athena and get some more stuff done around the house. So I'm on a sort of window here where I want to be off stream when my mom comes here to scoop up Liam. So we'll go live tonight at 6, and I will explain in more detail. And frankly, I feel like I want to just have a calm community stream where we all get together and make sure everybody's chilling, everybody's okay, and that you guys know that I'm fine and everything like that. I will just say this. I'm going to keep it very brief here. This show isn't about all of that. The way I think of this is I'm a broadcaster and I make content on various platforms, mostly YouTube, but it goes out all over the place. Look, what I say, what I make, the content, the takes, all of that, it goes out and I kind of relinquish ownership of it, right? Everybody perceives it and they can digest it in their own way. Some of you watch the show live. Some of you watch it later. Some of you just watch clips. Some of you just watch clips where I get brought up on Twitter and made to look the most toxic, horrible possible, I can't control a lot of that. I can control what comes out of my mouth. I can control the energy I bring to the stream. I can't really control where all the content goes. However, I think, frankly, I've made a little bit of an error in judgment over the past couple of months because I've also not really tried to control this chat or the Discord as much. And, I think that it's just like a passive thing, and I want people to come in and be able to say whatever they want. And I'm not a big fan of censorship or using all of these different techniques. But here's the thing that I think I underestimated. This chat, there was a time when there was 40 people. I think there were probably even times when we had like 12 people in this motherfucker. I've been streaming since 2020. We pivoted into streaming because of the pandemic. And this place, this chat, used to be somewhat of a reprieve from a lot of the chaos and the bullshit that happens on the internet. You're on the internet right now. Just take a look around. It's not always the most pleasant place. Beyond that, our Discord used to be an even better reprieve. Can't always control the chat, people coming in and out. It gets wild, it gets crazy. But the Discord itself used to be a place where we would all gather and we started this whole fucking thing. The Den of Nerds began. The community started. The Nerdvengers became a thing because we love nerdy shit. And we want to get together and experience our love of nerdy shit. Now, I'm not saying we can't fight. I'm not saying we can't argue. And frankly, I don't know how we couldn't these days. Things are all over the fucking place. A lot of these franchises have let us down. The world's the world is the world. So I totally get it. But I perhaps made a mistake in allowing it to just become whatever it was going to be naturally. So I'll explain more of this tonight at 6. But we're probably going to start filtering the chat a little bit more here, but especially on Discord. That is like, the Discord to me is holy ground. I am no longer going to tolerate any troublemakers, any trolls, or even problematic folks. And frankly, look, I'm not trying to be rude, but some of you guys just get in there and you trauma dump. That's not the place for that either. So I have to remove the stuff because, frankly, there have been people here that have been literally paying us monthly for 4 to 5 years. And they came here because it was different than other places. And it will remain different than other places. And I'm going to take some action to make sure that this chat, and damn sure our Discord, will shift a little bit back into being a place where we just actually come together as a community. And if you're a troublemaker, you got to go. That's just what it is. So that's all I'm going to say about it for now. I'm feeling good, though, guys. Like, don't worry about me. Look, at the end of the day, content's kind of wild. You get a lot of input, right? And by the way, a lot of you guys reached out privately, and I think a lot of you understand. A lot of you were saying, like, I wouldn't be able to handle all this shit that you deal with all the time. And, it's a lot of input. You put yourself out there. You get a lot of it. It's all part of it. I'm good. Like, I'm chilling. I took the appropriate step, which was a step back. And I feel good. However, there were some things that were brought up to me by the community, and things have been a little tense. So we are going to make some changes. I don't think most of you will feel it at all. And I think most of you will just kind of quietly have a much better environment over there. So that's all we're going to do with all that. So I hope I can see some of you guys tonight at 6. I will go live, and it'll be a members only thing, so it will be on YouTube. It should pop up for you. I can address any more specific questions that we have then and there. Sound good? Cool. So let's talk Superman. Let's begin with Superman. The Superman trailer officially dropped Wednesday. It's a big trailer, man. I think it's a big deal. We've spoken at great length about how important this trailer is, how important this movie is, frankly, for Warner Brothers. And, you know, look, it seems like almost all of these studios are having problems. Everything's like falling apart a bit. But Warner Brothers, they're in a really tricky spot, especially compared to a company like Disney. You know, I think if you just looked out on Twitter, you'd probably think, oh, Disney, they're totally fucked. Like, a lot of it's bad. And Warner Brothers had the Penguin, so they're good. Or HBO, you know, whatever. Like, that might be the sort of thinking. Look at the stock price, look at the financials, look at the assets, and you'll understand that Warner Brothers is in a much more precarious position than Disney is. They have put a lot into this Superman movie, and not just the Superman movie, but the entire universe. They have multiple Cape shit going on, right? They're doing Supergirl, they're doing Green Lantern, and they have more projects that they're trying to do. So, pretty big deal, pretty big trailer. The trailer dropped. I reacted to it. I cut a little video on Wednesday, and so I'll talk about a couple of things that I like. I'll talk about a couple of things I don't like, and then I seriously question, and we can get into this more in Q&A, but I seriously question how effective this trailer was. I don't know that it actually solved the main problem that I think is holding the last group of people that are on the fence about this movie or maybe don't want to support it. I don't know that the film actually addressed the issues that group of people have. So even though I think a lot of people are hyped about it, I think the movie's going to do just fine. I don't know that I would say it's a successful trailer because of that. So what did I like about this trailer? Well, man, I got to tell you, I think this movie looks really good. I know there's some weirdness. Some of you guys have been pointing out, you know, whether it's the fisheye lenses or some of the lenses that they're using. Yeah, there's some weirdness. There's definitely some wonkiness here and there. But for the most part, I think this looks incredible. I think the action looks great. I think it looks sharp. I think one of the things he's really nailing is the feeling of like watching Superman do Superman shit. You know, the way that he flies, the way that he punches, the way that he struggles against powers and all sorts of stuff. Like it feels really right. And just as a base level fan of, you know, superheroes in general, but the Man of Steel himself, that's dope, man. I mean, you put me in a theater, you know, $200-300 million budget, some guy dressed up as Superman, and you're actually going to have him fly around and do crazy stuff. I'm excited about that, and it looks really good. The fight with Ultraman at the beginning, who I think that is Ultraman in the costume or the armor or whatever, when he says, eyes up here, and then takes off. Hate the line. Hate that shit. But the actual, like, you look at what he, and you're like, whoa. Like, so I think that it's effective. I think that it seems super fun and entertaining. I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy the spectacle that is created here in this movie. And James Gunn is a super competent filmmaker. He's been at this a long time. I think one thing you'd have to admit, even if you don't necessarily love his style, is that he does spectacle really well. Even in the Suicide Squad, the spectacle's really fun and great. In the Guardians movies, of course, I think the spectacle is crazy, dude. Like, he just really does put on some really fun visual feasts with fun characters. So that was a little surprising to me because when the first trailer came out, if you remember, I didn't love it. And I did not like the look of it. And I didn't like some of the action. You know, I was like really not quite sure about the look. It looks to be sharper, better, and full-on spectacle. So that's really, really cool. I do think that there are some character things that are operating well within the trailer. This is obviously a version of Superman that is less mythic and stoic and more human, and they really want the audience to empathize with Clark, to really see themselves in Clark, and to see Clark as not some symbol, but as a dude, a man, a human being that has this power and is grappling with how to deal with this power in a world that has all of these structures and biases and all these kind of crazy things, right? And so in that way, it's almost an exaggerated version of just, you know, coming of age in general in the real world. What does one do, especially as a young ideologue faced with the harsh realities of a real world? I think that's a clever angle. I think it's subtle. I think it could work. Superman as a character has a unique property in that he has always been recontextualized for the time in a way that almost feels like he's the perfect hero for each moment and each era of the history of the character. Last year, we did this big deep dive on Superman. It was fantastic. I think we did a couple of streams. We learned all sorts of stuff of the Man of Steel. And this was one of them that was really apparent. So when Superman first arrives on the scene, he's like almost anti Wall Street. He's there for the everyman. You know, there are moments where he's anti-war. There are moments where he's actually pro-American establishment. Like, the character sort of shifts with the needs of the people. And this is something that Grant Morrison actually plays on in very clever ways in All-Star Superman and in even the New 52 when he was doing his thing with Clark back then. Different versions of Superman, literally metaphysically different. So I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, you can't actually change Clark. Superman is an established character that cannot change, and if you deviate from this, I'm going to have an issue with it. That's not true of Clark, but I do think it's fair to say that if you like a particular version of Clark, you might not like a version that's different. I think that's fair to say. I think it's also fair to say that at this juncture, at this moment in time, the recontextualization of Superman is very important. I don't know if it's always been like this. It is possible that throughout every moment in the history of the country, people have felt differently about what that moment meant. And it's maybe only through the past and history and looking back that we contextualize it and we understand it, which would actually make the whole concept of Superman being ideal for the moment even more interesting and perhaps metaphysical. But I think one thing we know for sure in this moment is that the recontextualization of this hero, I would argue, is somewhat up for debate. Meaning, there are a lot of people that think we need the mythic, stoic, Ubermensch version of Clark. We need a Clark that is calculated, well-read, philosophical. And I think that's really an expression of how people view sort of like an ideal version of what that character would be like in the real world. And it sort of speaks to the things you might want to see happen in the world, the way you wish the leaders of the world would actually be. And I think, and I don't know if what I'm saying is making perfect sense here, but what I'm trying to say is that I think, unlike a lot of other moments, this moment with Superman being recontextualized does seem to be up for debate. And I think a lot of folks look at what Gunn is doing with Superman and don't necessarily love it. So that is kind of interesting, right? And again, maybe some of this is personal taste. Perhaps some of this is how you feel about the world. And I think there's nothing wrong with a different version of Superman. There's also nothing wrong with personally rejecting that version of Superman. Remember, there were a lot of people that rejected Cavill's version, and they rejected Zack Snyder's version of Superman. And I think if we want to be really fair, that was probably another moment where folks were like, I don't know if that's the interpretation for the moment. Do you know what I mean? And so just like it was okay that people didn't necessarily all love it back then, it's all right that not necessarily everybody loves it right now. I think there's enough interest on the character in general to go maybe give the full movie a chance. And that's what happened with Man of Steel. And that was a very successful Superman movie, 670 million global take for that film years ago, right? So, that's sort of my thoughts on the things I like, the things I'm sort of questioning. Now, let me tell you the stuff I just absolutely don't like. Two things. The dialogue sequence at the beginning of this trailer is weird. I think even if you like it, you'd have to admit it's weird. To me, it's weird. I'm sorry, it is. There's a couple of things about it that are weird. Number one, it feels like it's going in from a casual, intimate moment between the two characters into a serious conversation. And it feels like Lois understands that shift is happening, and she's appropriately becoming the reporter. What I'm frustrated by is that it doesn't feel like Clark understands the seriousness of the situation, and I actually don't feel like he had become Superman in that moment. I feel like he's laughing it off. I feel like he's being way too cavalier. I feel like his attitude is infantile, and then he gets driven to anger very quickly and loses his cool. And, you could say, oh, man, that is actually perfect for the type of Superman he is building. He wants you to understand that, just like you get mad in traffic, or if your favorite restaurant is full and you have to wait too long, you want to rage out. Clark's just like that, right? And so this could be completely specifically designed. This could be exactly what he wanted. However, I still don't like it. I don't like Clark being cavalier. I don't like Clark being quick to anger. And I also just feel like the entire context of that scene being put at the front of this trailer is probably just a bad look for more traditional Superman fans. Maybe even traditional is not the right word, but you could say fans of the more stoic, heroic version of that character, the mythic version of that character. I think this is a potentially a big stopping point, a big block, a checkpoint for fans like that. It just, to me, it felt incredibly weird. And then the other thing, and then this is probably just totally personal taste, I hate the James Gunn jokes all over this place. I hate the Cronkite joke. I hate when he says, hey, buddy, eyes up here. Because, dude, you're wearing red underwear on the outside of your pants. Okay, and you're gonna call somebody out for looking at your crotch or whatever. It's just weird. It's just so unneeded. It's so James Gunn. It's so infantile. So I hate all of those aspects. I hate them. But I can still accept that. That's just James Gunn shit, and I'm not gonna like it. I could still probably enjoy the movie and even understand the characterization of the character. And again, it looks really cool. It looks really fun. And I think it's just going to come down to personal taste, particularly with the Gunn humor, right? Maybe you're down. Maybe you think it's cool. Remember, though, I would just like to point out that these jokes in the trailer, that sensibility is apparently also attributed to super shit and I'm Superman, bitches. So I just want to say that even if you don't necessarily, even if you are cool with the stuff that's in the trailer, consider that type of humor, that sensibility will be extended to things like hashtag super shit and I'm Superman, bitches. Just want to point that out. So there's some stuff to be a little concerned with, right? At the end of the day, will I be able to handle a James Gunn jokey Guardians of the Galaxy Superman? I mean, we'll see. I think I can handle the trailer, and if it's fun enough, if the DC universe itself is cool enough, established enough, I think I could probably get down. I've said this before. I said it in the video on Wednesday, but I'll say it again here. I'm more excited for Supergirl. I'm more excited for the Lanterns, and it's completely because it's not James Gunn. And this is just because I don't like James Gunn's taste. I think it's too infantile. I think Peacemaker is like unabated Gunn, and I hate it. So I'm not going to be down with that. You know what I mean? And I think Warner Brothers, they're probably going to keep a keen eye on how this movie is actually perceived, talked about, and how it performs in the box office, because I know for a fact that there are other people at Warner Brothers that feel the same way as I do. I've talked to some of them. So we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it shakes out. But overall, I'm going to say it was a good trailer. But here's the question. Is this a successful trailer? Right? And I think to fully explain that, you'd need to establish what success looks like. I don't think there's a, like, let's just be real. I don't think there's too many people that don't know about this movie. You know, if the numbers from the first trailer are to be believed, this is one of the biggest trailers watched of all time across all social media platforms, something like 250 million worldwide views. So frankly, I don't think exposure is the movie's problem. I actually think the only potential problem that the film has is extending an olive branch to people that might not be super big James Gunn fans, to people that are maybe fatigued on superhero films in general, to people that are definitely fatigued on DC, and maybe just to people that are trying to decide which movies to see if they can't see them all. And I think that's pretty fair. I think that's pretty good faith. I think that's probably the thing, and those are the groups that the movie should be targeting. Frankly, they already got a lot of our money, right? And so within that context, I don't know that I could say this was a successful trailer. I don't really think it's going to make those different groups of people. I mean, you could make an argument that the pure spectacle of the thing, which does look really cool, would perhaps tap into some of those groups, you know? And they might be like, dude, that Superman movie just looks cool as hell. But I think there's a lot of people that have concerns, hangups, and fatigue within the genre. And I don't see a lot in this trailer that's aimed at getting those people to come on board, if that makes sense. So we'll see, you know. I will begin to get long-range box office tracking for Superman very soon. The movie is about 2 months away, which is kind of wild, dude. 2 months away. Oh my God, right? But it is. It's 2 months away. And I have also heard, as I told you guys earlier in the week, they're about to ramp this marketing up to 11. So you're going to get a lot more marketing and potentially more trailers and TV spots and stuff like that. So I think we'll really get a sense in the next couple of weeks. Is this thing really organically building hype? Does this seem like it's going to be a big hit? Or are they sort of railing against what's just not working? Thunderbolts, to me, is an example of a company pulling out damn near every marketing stop they possibly could, and thus far the effect has been pretty minuscule. In a sense, there are more negative forces working against Thunderbolts and people going to give it a fair shot than there was positive forces from the marketing team. So we're going to see how this comes together, man. But I just wanted to kind of yap about Superman. I had to yap about Superman a little bit. And so I'm sure there's questions, comments, concerns. We'll get into those later on in the show. Okay. Shall we get into the Star Wars news here, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, this one's kind of spicy. So let me try here. Let me attempt to report this in a very clean way, remove as much of my bias as I possibly can and tell you what's going on and tell you what I've heard. And then I will then get into my opinion on this, right? So why am I even talking about this at all? Well, it has to do with Joanna Robinson, who you should be familiar with if you're a member of this community. Joanna Robinson, I believe she used to work at Variety, but we know her mostly from her incredible book called The Reign of Marvel Studios. It's a great book, has a ton of great sourced information, and Joanna has been ahead of a lot of things, including the pivot to Doctor Doom after Kang, which we also explored on these streams and in our videos. So Joanna Robinson is a somebody. She absolutely has great sources. I think she's a pretty good writer, too. So she was on a podcast recently, and she had spoke about something she heard with regards to Andor and Dave Filoni. And I believe she frames this in somewhat of a negative way. And I've seen a lot of other people frame this in a negative way as well. But let me just tell you what she said, and I'll tell you what I've heard, and then I'll give you my opinion. So what Joanna said was that she had heard that Dave Filoni was a gatekeeper at Star Wars. And he was actually really, as opposed to the perception you get of him on stage when he's all smiles, a big cutthroat behind the scenes and very protective of the Star Wars brand. I think she described him as somewhat of a wall that other projects had to pass through or around or over. She talks about how, well, you know what? Honestly, I don't even know how much she talks about this, but we know from reporting from Harloff that Dave came in and changed Acolyte a bunch. He cut that shit up, changed it all around, and this was an example of him asserting that CCO power, the potentially co-president power that he's about to get. But what Joanna had said, just getting back specifically to what she said, Tony Gilroy was protected from Dave by Kathy. She somewhat explicitly explains that Dave did not like what was going on with Andor. Just like Dave doesn't like a lot of what goes on with other people's Star Wars projects. And although Dave didn't necessarily have all the power during Andor season 1, he definitely has a lot of power now. And the way Joanna said it was because of Tony Gilroy's close relationship with Kathleen Kennedy, Tony Gilroy and all of his creative decisions, which probably is the sexual assault, all of his decisions were protected by Kathy against Dave's purview. Okay. So I want to say a couple other things that are going on here, and then I'll give you my take, okay? So this, to me, corroborates the report from Harloff that Dave came in and cut Acolyte completely apart and changed it. And from what I've heard, Acolyte was going to be way darker. It was going to shit on Anakin's legacy way more. It was going to do some wild shit. We already don't like Acolyte. It was already goobly glob. It was already kind of, stepping on the line of canon a little bit. From what I understand, it was going to be way fucking worse. And Dave came in and cut that thing completely apart and made it different. He did not want Andor to be the way that it was. This is important to remember. Okay. This brings a couple of things to mind to me. Number one, do you guys remember the comments that Gilroy made over the past couple of weeks about how journalists and fans were trying to drive a wedge between Filoni, Kathy, and Gilroy? Do you remember those comments? I think within the context of this new reporting, those are pretty interesting because he knew exactly what he was doing when he said that. This makes me think of comments from Dave from 2 years ago, where on stage at Star Wars Celebration, he offhandedly said, "Sometimes I ask Kathy, why do you greenlight the Star Wars projects that you greenlight?" It was a super offhanded comment that not a lot of people picked up on, but I was like, whoa, what's that mean? This makes me think of recent comments from the past few weeks of Dave in Tokyo talking about how the legacy of George Lucas was so important to him. He damn near came to tears talking about how it was important for him to fight for the legacy of what George said Star Wars was. Okay. Now, that takes us all then to the reporting that I had several weeks ago about the creative overhaul and the civil war behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. Now, a lot of you know because you either watched the video or you've heard me talk about it on stream. But for those that don't, and for the sake of this piece of block here, this segment actually being cohesive, let's go over it. So, man, it must have been about a month ago now. I got hit up from an old source, but an incredible source. A person that I haven't heard from in a long time. And this person hit me up with, a metric ton of information about things that were going on with Lucasfilm. One of those things, by the way, was that the next big animated show for Star Wars would be centered around Darth Maul. I had that shit weeks before it was announced at Star Wars Celebration because this source is real. And the information this source gave me is real. And I'm not going to go into everything because there's a lot of spoilery stuff that I talked about with regards to Ahsoka Season 2. But towards the end of that video, one of the things I mentioned, because I asked my source about, what's going on with Kathy, right? I mean, obviously, she's on the way out, but maybe she's not. I'll die making movies, she says in the trades, the day the Nerd Theory reunion goes on, right? So it's been a little while. And I was like, what's the deal here, man? What's going on with Kathy? So it was described to me that there's the way that they phrased it was, there are people within Lucasfilm that want a complete overhaul of how Lucasfilm is greenlighting projects and making Star Wars. Basically, there was a camp there that does not want to do all these Rey movies, that does not want to do Andor, that does not want to do, frankly, stuff like Acolyte, and wants to literally overhaul completely how Star Wars makes its content. And it was described to me that a lot of the stuff we've been hearing in the press about Kathy was Kathy using mouthpieces to consolidate power and control because there was this struggle going on. And I think now with these comments here, I think it's pretty obvious that this conflict is Dave Filoni on one side wanting to revamp Star Wars so that it lines up more closely with what George would have done, and Kathleen Kennedy, who wants to do two things. Number one, she wants to protect her own legacy by not making it seem like they're now just going to go away from everything that she did. But also, obviously, Kathy has stood up for different visions and different things within Star Wars, right? By the way, do you remember that Leslie Headland did an interview where she said that when she pitched Star Wars, almost everybody in the room didn't like her pitch except for Kathleen Kennedy? Like, these are the kind of things that I'm talking about. When you really pay attention here and you're really listening to what is being said, a pattern emerges, and it really does seem like on one side you have Kathy, who doesn't understand Star Wars and frankly treats it more like a corporate-owned IP that needs to branch out, diversify, become more accessible to the marketplace, all of these different concepts. And then you have a guy like Dave, who's a Pittsburgh boy that moved to California, didn't know a lick about how that town went down, and was hired by George Lucas himself and fostered as the next version of the creator. And look, man, that's what's going on. And you might like Andor. In fact, you might not like Dave Filoni. And I think that especially online, there does seem to be that kind of attitude. And I think there's a lot of people that don't love perhaps the more for a child, mythic adventure. I want to say not sophisticated, but it's just a different kind of sophistication. But like, I would grant you that, Andor is a more sophisticated show, right? And George's stuff is more like a fairy tale. So I think there's obviously been a rift within the fandom, especially over the past couple of years, of people that feel that Star Wars needs to branch out, reinvent itself, do more stuff like Andor. And then there are people like me that completely reject that and say, no, Star Wars is what it is. If you change it too much, it no longer is Star Wars. It's just sci-fi with the Star Wars name on it that might occasionally dip into the mythic, but it is not, at that point, Star Wars. Okay. So I guess you can decide how you feel about it. And you could say that you sort of reject Dave and you want more Andor stuff, right? And look, we could argue till the cows come home on how you feel about that, the different redeeming qualities of both types of stories. That's fine. That's your opinion. But I'll say two things. I'll say that, number one, there is no evidence that turning Star Wars into a more sophisticated brand has bared any real fruit. Andor cannot justify its own budget due to its viewership, due to its imprint in merchandising, all of these different things. It doesn't seem to actually work. And we don't have official numbers, okay? And, I'm really interested to see what the actual streaming numbers were for Andor Season 2, because I think that the show's release schedule was, designed to make it chart. I mean, you have 12 episodes dropping in a 1-month period, and they're long form, right? So that's like a 2.5-hour movie each week, 10 hours of movies in a month time. I mean, if this thing doesn't chart, it will be a hilarious blow up in your face, egg on your face, embarrassment for Disney. I actually think that it will chart. But I think when you really look at the data and you don't, if you really understand what they did and how they set it up for that, I think it'll still look pretty unremarkable when all is said and done. I mean, guys, it only trended into the following day one time during its entire run, and it was at 36,000 tweets. This just isn't actually moving the needle. And if you look at even Ahsoka's numbers, which at the time, the whole thing with Ahsoka is so funny because I think at the time we were like, oh, that's all that Ahsoka's doing. There hasn't been a show that hit Ahsoka numbers on Disney Plus since. Comparatively, Ahsoka was a smash fucking hit compared to everything they've done since. The biggest moment before that in Star Wars was Mandalorian Season 2, the brainchild of Dave and John. So I don't know that there's actual tangible evidence that even if you dump damn near $700 million into a more sophisticated version of Star Wars, that it actually justifies its own expenditure or creative energy. I think that the thing is, we live in a world where there's a lot of people online that make a lot of noise. And sometimes it's easier than other times to separate that noise from the reality of what the wider audience is thinking and doing. But I think that a couple of weeks ago, a 20-year-old George Lucas movie came out. And it made headlines. It broke records. It caused content creators to take notice and cover it because that's how shocking that was. And to have that going down at the same time that Andor is floundering when you actually just look at the numbers, and sure, there's a social media imprint there, not even a large one. I would argue that it is self-evident that the right direction for Star Wars is more aligned with George's vision and therefore safer in the hands of Dave Filoni. You don't have to agree, but that's the take. And I also think that because Andor is just the latest in the legacy line of Kathleen Kennedy, that's the thing that this report truly shows you, right? This was Kennedy's baby. Dave was like, I don't know about rape. Kath was, I love it. You know what I mean? Like, this is her thing. I find it so wild that so many people that can acknowledge how bad she has been at running this company in so many different ways, just because Andor felt more serious and you liked that, you're going to ignore that its conception was very likely a mistake. And the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. Kathy's made all sorts of boneheaded decisions. It's obvious. And I think making a Andy Sorkin Star Wars with mature themes that cost, 6 times what Kenobi cost, was a mistake. And I would argue that even those among you that currently love Andor and that are like going to bat for it, or you want to defend it, or you want to say like, Gilroy over Filoni or whatever, all of that conversation would not even be possible had she not decided to make that show. So it's still her fault. Even your complaining is her fault. It would be like having a restaurant that made incredible sushi and deciding one day you wanted to do Belgian waffles. And then you made some Belgian waffles, and a portion of your sushi customers were kind of like, I don't even know if I like sushi that much. Belgian waffles are the shit. That's called brand dilution. It is a mistake, objectively. So I'm trying to be super fair here because I know there are so many of you that love Andor, and I'm not here to yuck your yum, man. I mean, it's not my thing. I don't think it's Star Wars. I reject it completely. But I think even just on the merits, given the context, if you really understand what's going on, I don't think this is working. And I think beyond that, this feels like cosmic fucking justice to me. I find it so fascinating that this article and this scoop from Joanna just confirms that, yes, Dave is not as nice behind the scenes. In fact, he is fighting hard. He's fighting hard. He's being a real hard ass about this. And he's being a hard ass because he strongly feels Star Wars should align with how George saw it when he first created it. He is the CCO. He will be co-president. The question now becomes, how much influence will Kathy have? Will the object failure of Andor, which is predicted by me, we don't know for sure, but is the object failure of Andor the final nail in the coffin of this civil war? We're going to find out. This story gives me personally so much hope. This guy is fighting in an environment of Hollywood people. He is not a Hollywood guy. In an environment of power-hungry people. He is not a power-hungry guy. He is a good old boy. He is a blue-collar Pittsburgh guy. He is a Yinzer. I've spoken to him. I've spoken to people that know him. In that world, in that environment, he is fighting for what he personally believes is right, and that is that Star Wars should be like what George Lucas had. And to me, that's an incredible fucking thing. I'm grateful. I am thankful. You know, I was a bit concerned after the whole story with the grape that I was like, how could Dave have signed off on this, right? And I almost felt like when he was damn near in tears at Celebration talking about defending George's version of Star Wars, I almost felt like he was talking about that exact thing. And now I feel much better because he did not want it in there. And Kathy insisted. So that's the story. I tried to report as cleanly as I possibly can, guys. The reality is there is a conflict. The reality is there is a team that wants to revamp. There is a team that does not want to do what Kathy is doing. And then there's Kathy's plan with 16 Ray movies. So you decide. What do you want? And we'll talk about it when we get into the Q&A. Okay. All right, let's talk some X-Men. Let's talk some Spider-Man 4. Let's have a little bit more fun. I know that was probably serious. Blah blah blah. Okay, so we got a couple of really interesting things coming out about the X-Men. A lot of this is coming from Jeff Snyder from the Hot Mic podcast with John Roca. They went live last night. And Jeff had some pretty interesting things to report. So let's begin with this one right here. Jeff is saying that Marvel Studios is reportedly building the team for the X-Men film around Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Professor X. Now, you might be like, wait, what? That's obvious. No, it isn't. Shut your mouth when you're talking to me. This is actually pretty crazy, okay? We had heard a lot of different things about the X-Men and how they're moving forward. What are they going to do? What stories are they going to tell? What's the vibes, man, when it comes to X-Men? This would indicate to me that the central story is probably Dark Phoenix. Okay? I think it has to be. I mean, how else? These three characters are obviously, very intricate in their connections, but really, I think this would indicate Phoenix. And because here's the reality. Charles recruits both Cyclops and Jean when they're very young. And he sort of builds them up. He tries to use them as, general's tools, his X-Men or whatever, his children, he calls them. But he also does some shady shit. Okay, number one, he puts mental blocks into Jean Grey to stop her from being as powerful as she can. It's actually later revealed that he was actually attracted to her, too, which is gross and weird that comes out in the Dark Phoenix saga. Cyclops, Scott, obviously falls in love with Jean. But when the Dark Phoenix shit goes down, that whole issue and, I guess, potential love triangle between, like, Phoenix, Jean, and Scott is very interesting. And the love he has for her, while also understanding the difference of what the Dark Phoenix actually is crazy. And he gets kind of swept up into it. She, there's that scene on the plateau where she stops his eyes from blasting with her Phoenix powers, and she sees his eyes, and then they make out and stuff. So there's just a lot of, like, interesting character stuff that goes between the three of them. Okay? So to me, I think this hints at more Dark Phoenix stuff, which I'm going to come back to because I have a crazy theory. Because Chris Claremont just said that Phoenix is back and that Femke Jenkins is going to be Phoenix in Doomsday or potentially in Secret Wars. So put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. The other thing we need to discuss is who will be Jean. This one's really interesting. So Jeff says Daisy Edgar Jones is rumored to be in the mix for the role of Jean Grey in Marvel Studios' X-Men film. I'm not super familiar with this actress. I don't really know her. But she feels right for Jean, and a lot of people that are familiar with her work think that she would be perfect. She's 26 years old, so I like the age there. She would obviously have to dye her hair, or maybe she's naturally red, and this is just her dyed. I'm not sure. So that's kind of interesting as well, right? So this is a two-part thing here with Jeff. He's saying that they're focusing on the main cast of Jean, Professor X, and Scott, and they're building the entire team around them. That means, number one, the chemistry between these three characters is paramount, but then the chemistry for every other character has to be played against this cast here. So they're going to see, how does this person, can we see this person with this Jean? Would this person have a conversation with this Scott, and it would make sense? How does this person feel with this Charles Xavier? Right? So that's a part of it. And then we're kind of getting an indicator of, if not the exact person, the type of person that Marvel is looking for when it comes to Jean. So I think that's cool. I think she's good. I would love to know more about what you guys think about that. However, this next part here is where it gets a little crazy. Okay, and this is where it gets a little controversial. We got to talk about Magneto. All right, we got to talk about Magneto. So according to Jeff, and he actually begins a conversation by saying that he continues to hear from sources that Charles Xavier will be black, or I think he said a person of color. Now, by the way, Jeff actually mentions Coleman Domingo for Charles Xavier. Am I fucking crazy, or is that like terrible casting? You guys let me know. I think, like I said in my video earlier this morning, to me, it is more about the person than the race. Like, there are white dudes that would not work as Charles. There are black dudes that would not work as Charles. To me, Coleman Domingo does not work as Charles. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a second. Here's the thing. Jeff is saying that they're looking for a black Charles Xavier, and they're potentially looking for black Magneto. Now, to be absolutely crystal clear here, Jeff is not reporting that he thinks that Denzel is Magneto. He's basically saying there was reporting, which he did play a role in, but there was reporting that Denzel would be Magneto. Remember, Denzel was in an interview. He said Ryan Coogler wrote a role for him for Black Panther 3. Now, I want to pause for just a second here. I saw some people being like, how could Denzel be Magneto if he's in Black Panther 3? Well, let me explain. Two things. Number one, we have heard reports that Magneto will not be involved in the new X-Men movie. Kind of interesting, huh? But these reports are old, so the plan could have changed. But there were reports, and this came from Daniel RPK, that Magneto was going to be saved for a different thing. And we know that Mr. Sinister and potentially Apocalypse, they are the main villains of the X-Men movie, not Magneto. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. Magneto might not even be in the X-Men film. And if he is, he might not be the main villain. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Number two, you just got to remember your MCU history. The first appearance of Black Panther in the MCU and the first appearance of Spider-Man in the MCU was in a Captain America movie. Now, sure, it was Civil War, but it was a Captain America movie. So, like, who are these people that don't understand how Magneto as Denzel could be put in Black Panther 3? Pay attention. Holy. So, considering the other established rumors, considering the history of the MCU, I think this could absolutely be a thing. I don't know that it will be a thing, but there's nothing here that feels too weird or fishy or outside of the realm of possibility. Okay? But here's the question. Do we want Magneto? Do we want... I can't come up with a cool black version of Professor X. Somebody help me. Do we want black Professor X? Do you want black Magneto? Okay, now, look, man. this is going to cause a bit of a uproar for a couple of different reasons here. You know what's so funny, too, is I saw Rob from Comics Explained, who, you know, good friend of mine. I love this guy. He was like, he's against this. I don't want to say he came out like really against it, but he was like, don't mess with my X-Men. Which is ironic because remember, Rob and I had a conversation about Norrin Rad and Female Silver Surfer the other day where I was like, hey, don't mess with my Norrin Rad. And Rob was on the other side of that. So it's just kind of interesting. I only point that out because us nerds are a little fickle. You know what I mean? Because here's the truth, man. I think this is obviously going to be controversial. I got to tell you, two sides to this. My own personal feeling is, number one, if it's Denzel, fuck yeah. Like, I'm in. I'm sorry. Again, it's less about the race, man. It's more about the dude. That's an Eric to me. Like that, oh my God. And I just think Denzel that would be so fucking good as Magneto. I'm sorry. I like it. Okay? I actually thought Giancarlo would be an incredible Charles Xavier. I don't think Coleman Domingo's right. And it's more about, like, I need Charles to feel like he's calculating and powerful, but he has to kind of look less so. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I don't know. Coleman doesn't feel right to me, but there's obviously brothers out there that I think would be right for the role of Charles within my scope for the character, okay? So this is one of those weird things where I'm actually all right with this. And I'll take it even further, okay? I'm going to take it even further, and you guys are going to lose your fucking minds about this, okay? So get ready, buckle up your buttholes. It's about to get fucking crazy in here. You will not believe the words that are about to come out of my mouth. Ready? I would not mind if they shifted away from the Jewish experience into the African-American experience and use that for the direct allegory to civil rights. If they used that for the direct allegory to why Magneto hates humanity, I'm going to be okay with it. Again, I know a lot of you won't be. I know a lot of you will freak the fuck out about that. You're going to be like, you know? Guys, I don't know. I don't even want to get into like the full details of why I'd be okay with it. But frankly, I think the more time passes, the more difficult it is particularly within the MCU, to make a Magneto that survived the Holocaust. Like, I just think that's going to be a really tough timed thing. I mean, Denzel's old as shit. Sorry, Denzel, but you are. You're like 70 years old. You know what I mean? But even 70 years old isn't old enough to be an infant that survived the Holocaust, unless my math is way off, right? So I don't have a problem with it, okay? But here's the flip. Here's the other side of this that I think is going to make you lose your mind. I do not think they should do this. So even though for me, I'm down, I'm not bothered by it, I actually think it could potentially make more sense. Don't do this, Marvel. Again, let me explain the difference. Josh the fan is down. Josh the pundit is like, please, for the love of God, do not do this. Do not do this. Okay? Couple of reasons why. Motherfuckers don't like change, man. And the truth is, we live in an era where you guys have been changing every goddamn thing for like 5 to 6 years. We're fatigued on the fucking changes. We're fatigued on it. Like, we just want Luke Skywalker to be Luke Skywalker. You know? We just want Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. We just want Magneto to be Magneto. And any time you stick your stupid Hollywood hand in the cookie jar, we get upset. And that's on you, because you did it so fucking much over the past oh my God. This is the worst possible time to do shit like this. If you would have done this maybe at the start of phase 4, maybe. But you have fucking exhausted the patience of this audience and their ability to just accept your changes. whoa, dude, you have fucked up so much. Like, there's just so much silly, stupid shit that I don't want to get into all the details, but it's just like, oh my God, why this? Why that? Why this? Why that? Oh my God. Don't you see your audience is sick of it? Holy shit. So I think that's the first main reason that they should not do this, is that it's just going to hit the audience wrong. I mean, again, even Rob's out here like, bro, I don't know about this shit. And it's like, it's not even that deep. Like, Rob's not thinking of it deeply. He's just like, no, I know Magneto. I have that. This is Magneto. This is what I like about Magneto. You don't mess with Magneto. Right? That's like his take, and that's going to be the take of a lot of people. But here's the other side of it. We also live in a time where people have taken advantage of the first thing I mentioned, which is just fatigue, and they've actually felt super comfortable being flagrantly bigoted. So basically, Marvel, I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to create a scenario where you're going to have actual just fans standing hand in hand with maybe some actual bigots. You will create that. Like, and you might, look, you might fucking hate that I even said that. You might think it's so wrong, and how could you? And that won't happen. It is already happening. It is already happening on a myriad of issues out there in the actual real world. I'm not going to tell you what I'm talking about, but if you're a smart person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a very weird moment in time where a lot of things are being reinvestigated, a lot of biases are being reinvestigated, a lot of people are thinking out loud in ways that are kind of tough to stomach in polite conversation. Okay? So what I'm saying to you, Marvel, is if you can't see the road you're about to drive down by making this decision, you're dumb. You're foolish. So that's pretty much it. I mean, again, like, I'll probably be okay with it, frankly. You know what I mean? But I got to tell you, terrible idea, Marvel. Terrible idea. This will not go well. It's just what I think. That's the take. But again, as a fan, like, I'm actually down for it. I'd be way more open to it than a lot of other people would, I think. And I think it's more about the caliber of the actor, the quality, the sensibilities of that individual person, and what they would bring to the role, right? But a lot of other people will not see it that way. And that's what I'm trying to explain as the pundit. This is going to be a bad time for you. So please don't do this. Shut your mouth. Do something else. Okay. Couple other things we need to talk about here very briefly. I want to talk about Spider-Man's 4s, okay? This stuff's so wild, man. I did a video the other day because Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus had dropped a big scoop about the costuming department and some of the research that they were doing with regards to the villains. It seems they want a villain with a katana that has shinobi-inspired garb and whatnot. And a lot of us looked at that report and we were like, you know, this kind of feels like Marvel could be doing a Battleworld with like an Asian aesthetic, samurai, cyberpunk samurai aesthetic, and whatnot. Well, last night on the Hot Mic podcast, there were a couple of things that were said by Jeff Snyder that I think we can add into this conversation and kind of consider within the scope of that other conversation. By the way, I was told that even that report from the Cosmic Circus was actually not true. Dude, things are so crazy right now. I'm hearing so many different things from people, and so I'm trying to see how it's all going to shake out, right? But yeah, that's quite interesting. So a couple of things. Sadie Sink. You will recall that Sadie Sink was spoiled to be in the film in the Hollywood trades. Big article. She's the co-star. She's going to star across from Tom Holland, getting second billing or whatnot, but great for her. And remember that there were all sorts of questions. Is she Jean Grey? Is she MJ? This, that, second, and third. Well, last night on the Hot Mic podcast, It was actually John Roca, not Jeff Snyder. It was John Roca. Had a source reach out to him and say, she's going to play May Parker. And she will be the child of Toby and Kirsten Dunst. Well, so that's kind of crazy. That would imply multiverse shit. It would also imply some really fun possible connections between those characters. I wonder what Toby will say when he sees that Tom Holland's been spending time with his daughter. You know what I mean? So that's kind of wild. That's kind of interesting. There was the gal from Succession. Forget her name, apologies. But apparently she is being looked at as the secondary villain. It's very likely she is the same villain that Alex is saying is going to have the katana, potentially Silver Sable, by the way. Oh, my God. Cyberpunk Ninja Silver Sable in Spider-Man 4, I will freak out. That's absolutely incredible. So she's apparently a part of it. And then also Mr. Negative. That's something Jeff has heard. It's something John has heard. It's a big rumor that a lot of people are talking about out there. Mr. Negative potentially out there as well. So that's kind of interesting. Just want to keep you up to date on that. Not too much to get into there. I like the Mayday Parker thing. I think that would be really cool. But there's another thing going on with Spider-Man, and this has to do with Doomsday. So remember that Jeff Snyder had said that Tom Holland is not in Doomsday, and that's because Spider-Man 4 takes place either at the same time or as a prequel to Doomsday. Okay. So Daniel, RPK, reported over the weekend that he's actually fine to be in the movie. Disney wants Tom Holland to be in Doomsday, but it is Sony that is holding up that contract for whatever reason. Okay? Now, I was confused by this because a couple of years ago, maybe just a year ago, I was told that Tom Holland, as he was negotiating his new contract with Marvel Studios, you know, he really wanted RDJ money. He felt like he was worthy of it. I agree. And so that's like the deal that they were working on last year that they apparently signed. And at that time, I was told that Doomsday was actually on his old contract, that he still had one film left on his old Marvel Sony contract, and that was going to be Doomsday. At the time, it was the Kang Dynasty. And you'll recall that a lot of the scoopers, including My Time to Shine, had said that Tom Holland would be the lead of the Kang Dynasty. Do you remember? And so even though Doomsday has changed quite a bit, there's some elements of Kang Dynasty that we think is still in play. Mainly Tom being the lead, potentially, right? And we've also heard from a lot of the scoopers that the relationship between Tom Holland Spider-Man and Tony Stark was going to play heavily into the scenes between RDJ's Doom and Tom Holland Spider-Man, because Tom Holland Spider-Man is just going to naturally trust and have a connection to the person that has the same face as his old mentor, right? So you have all this context, and then Jeff's like, oh, he's not in the movie. And we're all like, what? You know, and I know a lot of us would be bummed if Spider-Man wasn't in the movie, okay? So according to Daniel, it's being negotiated. Apparently, negotiations could go a lot better now because he's done filming on the Odyssey, so he can actually like get in the room and try to iron this out. I was also told by somebody that although the contract's in place, his actual pay and appearances are like still up for debate. And I was trying to get them to explain it to me because I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. But apparently it's just that he has the obligation, but the exact details get ironed out on a case-by-case basis. So maybe it's something like that. I'm not quite sure. But at the end of the day, I personally take this to mean that Tom will be in Doomsday. I can't really imagine why Sony would not want him in there, right? Like, can anybody in chat think of a reason as to why Sony would not want Tom in there? Because that's kind of what Daniel's implying. Like, he's sort of saying that if Tom is not in Doomsday, it's because Sony didn't want him in there. And I cannot figure that out. Like, I guess on the one hand, you might say, well, they want people just to go check out Spider-Man 4. But, like, what better way to get people excited for Spider-Man 4 than to have him be a big part of Doomsday? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. It is, it's fascinating. It's interesting. There's a lot of moving parts right now. I mean, I think Marvel's, frankly, marveling harder than ever. And because of the way Marvel does things, it can be chaotic. It can be like multiple moving parts. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. But I kind of take this as a good sign that Tom will be in Doomsday, and I actually think that would be incredible. Okay, last little story, guys, and then we'll get into Q&A. Okay, I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of stuff. Y'all ever play Gears of War? Oh, man, I love Gears of War. Dude, Gears of War 2? Oh, my God, bro. Gears of War 2, the multiplayer? Man, remember that level on the bridge? And I say this to this day. Gears of War had some of the best sniper battles ever. The way that shot would... And then the skull would fly out of the head of the person you shot. Oh, my God, bro. Everybody grab the sniper, go up on the bridge. You'd have a little sniper fight at the beginning of the match. Oh, so good. So, yeah, I played a shit ton of Gears of War, frankly, is what I'm telling you. So this came out. This is really cool. So David Leitch is in talks to direct Gears of War movie. Dude, David Leitch is fucking awesome, dude. What's the big movie? I'm blanking on. He just did a really big movie in the last couple of years that I loved. Why am I blanking on this shit? Oh, he did Bullet Train, John Wick, Hobbs and Shaw, Atomic Blonde, The Fall Guy. That's the one. Y'all ever see The Fall Guy? It kind of got buried for whatever. It didn't do very well, actually, which is weird. But, dude, watch that movie. That movie is fucking incredible. So this dude just knows action like you wouldn't fucking believe. I mean, he did Deadpool 2. He did, it's a good. It's a good, okay? It's a good one. He's absolutely incredible. John Spates, the guy that wrote Dune. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? The guy that wrote Dune? Now look, it's Netflix, okay? Let's be real. It's Netflix, and that comes with certain potential problems. But I kind of feel like Netflix has been on a roll lately. I actually feel like Netflix has adopted a little bit of the Amazon formula, and they're doing a little bit more quality, you know, bringing more actual creators of the IP over and whatnot. So that's, you know, it's a bit of a question mark here. But, dude, Gears of War is a beloved game franchise. I bet they'll do another game, too. That synergy would be great. So I bet they'll do another game. Marcus Phoenix, just one of the most badass high-T motherfuckers ever, dude. And I think there's a market for that. You look at, like, the John Wick films. You look at Reacher, man. I think that people want high testosterone, you know, square-jawed badasses. So Marcus Phoenix is one of the best of all time, you know. And we're going to watch that casting very closely to see who gets it. But this is incredible, dude. The guy that fucking wrote Dune is writing a Gears of War movie. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my God. David Leitch is directing a Gears of War movie? Holy, dude. The dubs, man. The dubs just keep on coming. That's absolutely incredible. So just want to throw this out there. And this is another sign that video games and the video game adaptations, those are... that's the next thing, man. That's what Hollywood's chasing right now. Everybody's trying to crack it. I think everybody wants to figure out the next big video game franchise to pop off. And maybe it will be Gears of War. This also gives me a lot of hope for potential Halo revamp. Oh, my God. Could you imagine if we had this quality of writers with a big budget for Halo? Woo! That would be incredible. So there you go, guys. Oh, I didn't even have this up for you to see. I think I did at one point. Did I not? Here you go. You can look at the tweet for a second. That's Marcus Phoenix. I screwed this up. My bad. There you go. Boom. There you go. Sorry. My bad. Anyway. All righty then. Those are all the main topics today. Let's break into Q&A. I'm sure you have some thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. I'll go over all the super chats, the member chats. I will hang out in the chat as well. And then do not forget, I will be live at 6 p.m. tonight for members only. But it's going to be very casual. I'll be an open book. I'll talk a little bit more about the week. I'll talk a little bit more about the rules changes. I'll talk a little bit more about the community and how I want to shift things. That'll be tonight at 6 p.m. M. All right, let me scroll on up here and let's get going. Joshua says with a $2 holla, he was the first in today, says, yo, fam, missed ya. Red Hulk need to awaken Green Hulk. Oh, that would be great. That would be great. And I miss you too, man. I almost streamed. It's so funny. I almost streamed Wednesday night. I almost streamed yesterday. I had to like catch myself because I was feeling like good on Wednesday. There was a little scuffle in the Discord. But I was feeling good, and I was like, you know what, I could do a little stream. But it's like I can acknowledge that I need a break, but then I don't hold myself to the break, so I don't actually get the rest I need. But having said that, like, it's cool to have such a fun job and such a cool community that, like, I legitimately do miss you guys, and I want to get back in here and yap. So appreciate you, man. Thank you. Mr. Jazz 212 with a $10 holla says, I like the trailer, but what was up with Clark being angry at Lois like that? Was he going to attack her next? LOL. I've never seen him getting that aggressive with anyone before. Didn't seem right for him. Yeah, I mean, I think you'll find that people fall on different sides of this. Like, I've seen a lot of people online have the take of, like, I love how emotional he got about just wanting to save lives. People were going to die, right? And so I think in these examples, because like I'm a little more on your side, to be honest, but I think it's fair. Like, we don't want to be bad faith. We don't want to paint the people that like the trailer with a broad brush or make them look bad or whatever, right? So if you're a person that was like, no, I liked how indignant he was about injustice or whatever, like, I can kind of track what you're saying. Here's my problem with it. I feel like one of the first things a person like Clark Kent would have to learn is how to control their anger. This dude could not be like me, okay? You know, I've been working on my anger problems for a while, but I don't have it all figured out. If I pop off, you guys just don't like me. If Superman pops off, people die, okay? So I actually really don't like it because I think Clark, and maybe, like, I'd actually be more interested in exploring the idea that because Clark is so calculated because he had to learn control from such an early age, that it's actually affected parts of his psyche. I actually think that's more interesting than him just getting mad about people dying, right? But that's just me. That's just my sensibilities. I totally get what you're saying, dude. Like, I did not like it. And I think there were people that didn't like it, but there were people that thought it was all right. Ethan, welcome to the Nerd Vengers, brother. You are a Nerd Venger now. Rossi, good to see you. Appreciate that rose, man. Shalami Leaner with a $20 holla. That is very generous, man. Says, hey, Josh, I just watched the deep dive of Kane, and I enjoyed it a lot. You mentioned on that stream that you were planning on making a Kane movie or a show. Are there any updates on that, or did you cancel it for Unity? I don't have any updates about it, only to say that... how do I word this? I was considering a certain path with that project, and I'm not considering that path anymore. That's all I can say. Does that make sense? But I'm glad you like the deep dives, man. You followed up here and said, can you do more deep dives? They're a lot of fun. I would like to do more deep dives. You know what else I want to do? I want to watch more shit together. Like, it's kind of it's inconvenient the way we have to do it with YouTube. And I remember there was a time where we were doing watch parties on Twitch. Maybe we'll bring those back. But I was just thinking over the past couple of days of, like, you know, back in the day, we used to just do a lot more shit together. And it's just fun to, just do shit together. It doesn't always have to be, like, structured perfectly to go out into all parts of the internet, you know? So I'm considering more of that. I don't want to commit to anything, but I will say that we'll talk about that more tonight. And, yeah, I hear you. But Duncan says, new stream rule, y'all. This is a Warhammer stream. Yeah, that's the new rules. That's the new rules. If you're a big Warhammer fan, you're gonna be all right around here. If not, you're gonna have some trouble. So that's what we're doing. But Duncan, thank you for 5 gifted memberships, brother. I really appreciate it. Mike Porter says, glad I'm back. Hopefully to stay. Mike, it's so good to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well, man. Hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to hear from you. Mr. Penguin says with a $50 holla. That's very generous, man. Holy. says here, I really hope the clone thing for Superman is two different people. If we find out the Superman we see for the first half of the movie when he's talking to Lois is going over to the war is a clone, that will take me out of the movie. Oh, I really don't think that's what it is. Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. I know there was a very old rumor that indicated that could be a part of the plot, but I highly doubt that's what it is. So I think you're okay. And also, thank you for that 50. That's very generous. Javier Mendez with a $20 holla. That's also very generous, man. Thank you. Says, appreciate everything, brother. Also, love you, chat. Oh, hell yeah, man. Appreciate you right back. Thank you so much, man. Tim O'Brien says, over 2 years in this awesome community. Nerd Vengers for life, Ranch Vengers for life. I'm glad to be here. Yeah. Bro, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here too, man. So thank you so much, Tim. Black and Ridge, welcome back to the Nerd Vengers, baby. You are a Nerd Venger once again. Caleb Senpai says, just stopping by on my lunch break. Much love to Josh and this amazing community for all you've helped me get through. Take my money. Nerd Vengers for life. Hey, appreciate you, brother. Also, hope the workday's going well and hope you had a good lunch. Mr. JB says, one more month for 4 years in the community. Damn, bro. That's crazy. That's a long time, and I really appreciate that. I hope, because look, we all change, things change. I will say that it has certainly changed as far as what Disney and all them do. But if you've been here this long, I would like to believe that I'm doing something right, and that maybe for all the things I don't do right, as long as I can just keep doing those things right, we're going to be all right. Right? Sinister Spades, welcome back to the Nerd Vengers, brother. You are a Nerd Venger once again. Joshua says, sorry, I can be a troll sometimes, but I mean well. Oh, it's okay. I think there's a difference between a person that is sort of maybe joyful, jovial, and is just sort of taking the piss. And then I think there's a difference between that and somebody that's truly a troublemaker. And by the way, people can shift in and out of that. I think there are times when maybe for whatever reason, we're causing way more trouble than we'd like to admit. And there are other times where maybe we're being more chill. So, I don't even want to get specific with guidelines, at least for you guys. It's more like the mods. And if we're doing this right, you will not be thinking about your actions. You'll just be fine. And then if you step out of line, you'll be warned. And then we'll sort of quietly remove troublemakers. You won't even notice, except that things will probably just be generally better, right? Aaliyah says, kudos, Josh. And by the way, that's a $20 holla too, Aaliyah. Thank you so much. Says, kudos, Josh. I'm not aware of all that has happened, yet I trust you about this. Thank you for creating a welcoming and wonderful community. You're fair and approachable, which I greatly appreciate. Goodwill, hugs to chat also. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I certainly try. I think sometimes we fall short of what we want to be. But yeah, I certainly try. I would say that simply because I have authentically tried for so long, I think that's probably what sells people the most on the realness of this place, right? I don't know if I worded that perfectly, but it's like, because I was thinking about this a lot too, where I was like, because frankly, like I've fucked up a lot. There have been a lot of things I've done wrong. I've been too harsh sometimes in the community. Sometimes I've been too lax. Like, you know, sometimes I don't even think about it, and then like a garden, weeds spread, right? So I was thinking about this over the past couple of days because I was like, man, like I have really screwed this up a couple of times, you know, and I've been too moody sometimes. I've been too triggered by chat. I've been too opinionated, like all these different things, right? But I was like, you know, I think there's an authenticity that must just be on display, because I sort of keep circling back to like really trying to make it about the community and all of that. And, you know, it was a moment where I was like, trying to go easy on myself, where I was like, you're not going to get everything right. But if your core driving belief continues to be real, that might be enough. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so RPK just tweeted. This is good clarification on Daniel's part. He says, just now seeing this, a deal with Holland himself, not Sony. I didn't say anything about Sony. Okay, other people have, I mean, this happens to Daniel all the time, so we should try to give him a break too. Other people have spread that in a different way. The way I saw the report, it definitely made it seem like it was Sony. So that's cool. That's a good clarification. Andrea says, just want to express my love and gratitude for this community, our fearless leader, and all the fun we have here. Happy Friday and much love. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. Darth John, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers, baby. Bianca, thank you so much for the gifted member. I appreciate it. Tanimal says, glad you're back, brother, and glad I finally got to catch a live. Did you feel the trailer kind of made Superman look like a bitch? I think Gunn's Superman is more vulnerable, and I think that some of that is just literally the L's he is taking, but I think also he's not a stoic. So he's not meant to be this, like, god that's trying to figure out how to blend in. He's like a dude that has godlike power. It's very different. At least that's the sense I'm getting from it, is that it's very different. And I guess to answer your question, like, yeah, a little bit, but like that, I feel like that's intentional. Does that make sense? Noah, thank you for gifting a membership. Shogun Orta rather, says this Soups feels off. He feels A-. In the new trailer, we find him pounded into another crater, and he had to get help by a regular person. Just, huh? Yeah, again, I think that's absolutely fair to point out. I think this is an intentional choice on Gunn's part. And if that's something that bugs you, that's totally valid too. We'll see. I mean, here's an idea. I want to introduce this question to you guys. Is it possible that we might like the movie and yet still not think of it as our favorite Superman? Right? Like, that's the question. Like, can we enjoy the film in spite of it maybe not being the perfect way maybe we want Superman to be? I think it is possible that we could. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I mean, frankly, like, I just think there's a lot of stuff I see in this movie that I'm just not going to like. My hope is that I'll be having so much fun and there'll be so much stuff that I can sort of latch onto that I'm not going to sit there just with folded arms and scoff at the thing the whole time. I want to have a good time. And again, there's a lot of other stuff I'm more excited about. And to be honest with you, I kind of hope Gunn doesn't write or direct any more of the DCU, because I would be very excited to see David's Superman done with a different director. You know, and I say that with like absolutely no animus. Like, that's just what I would like. So I'm gonna try not to burn this whole motherfucker down, because I think there's some redeeming stuff going on here. Dave Does That says, 1 year took me a while to member up. Josh and the Nerd Avenger showed me immediately it was worth every penny. Much love. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep trying to improve and keep trying to hold up my end of the bargain, man, because I don't take this shit for granted. All sorts of ways you guys could spend your money. You know what I mean? And I consider that any of you spend any money on this business, this brand, this channel, I take that very seriously, you know? So thank you. RF Gaming sent in a gifted membership. Appreciate you. Andreas, thanks for a gifted membership. Locationary, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers, baby. Appreciate you. Tanimal with a $10 holla says, every other scene with him getting beat on. Also, with the introduction of all new characters we see in the trailer, I hope it comes off more lived in and not too many storylines happening in one movie. Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, one of the things, I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but the movie is more of an anthology than a straight story. I don't know if anybody, does anybody know that? Because that's been reported, but I don't know how much it's actually sunken in. Like, do you guys realize this movie's going to jump around and be somewhat of an anthology as compared to a singular narrative. I don't know how that's gonna, like, I don't know how people are gonna feel about that. You know? But I will say that the anthology setup or whatever, it does support more characters. I think it'll feel more lived in that regard, because you can't like do an anthology and then like actually, like, I think it might feel a little less forced. No, not like Infinity War. No. That was like vignetting multiple angles on a story that comes together. Although I guess technically that could be part of what's happening here. I'm more talking about like villain of the week situation here. Villain of the week situation here. Villain of the week situation here. Yeah, it could be something like that, Trev. Yeah. There's still a lot we don't know. We're gonna have to see it, but like I could certainly see it in the second trailer. Like, it's possible the interview, and I saw some people speculate about this. The interview itself could be the framing device that pulls the anthology together, right? Where Lois is like, "Well, tell me about some of the first days," and then we like go back. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have to see. But yeah, Tanimal, I totally understand what you're saying. Andre says, this community was with me all the places. When I was down in the ditch and above in the clouds. I got to say, love y'all motherfuckers all day. Brother Jay, you are the best in the nerdy world. Take my money. Hey, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And even though you said live instead of love, it was very nice. Mr. JB with 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much. Jake Myers with a 10 spot says, hey, Josh, haven't been able to be here for a live stream in a long time because of work, but I'm off today. Sending love from Pittsburgh. Nerd Vengers for life. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm trying to get down to Pittsburgh soon. You know, Liam's going to be pretty close to Pittsburgh this weekend. He's hanging out with Grandma. It's going to be fun. Locationary says, thank God for Dave. I mean, I agree. I feel very good about it. I understand not everybody feels the same way, but yeah, I totally agree, man. And truly, thank God. Chris Listenfeld with a $20 holla says, seeing people online speculating that Superman will make a Billy. In my opinion, in no world does it get even close. No Superman movie has made that much. Plus, the marketing hasn't been great so far. Comic fatigue will also play a big part. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, the comic book fatigue is maybe the biggest factor here. I mean, and Thunderbolts is bad for Superman. I know it might not seem obvious, but, I mean, Thunderbolts went all out, man. They went all out. It's an incredible movie. Like, think about it like this. It is an incredible movie. They went all out. They literally did one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, where they changed the name of the thing to associate it with Avengers. And it does not seem to have worked. Okay? Somebody in chat says Thunderbolts is not Superman. Yes, we know that. We know that. I appreciate the point, but yes, obviously they're not the same. But I think if you look at the trends surrounding Thunderbolts, it should probably be very concerning for Superman. You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't bode well for how most normies, because here's something else that, you know, we might not like to acknowledge. Most normies don't even know the difference between DC and Marvel. Like, guys, you are like, but the Thunderbolts is different than Superman. Guys, I'm telling you right now, most grandmas, uncles, aunts, they don't even know that. They don't know that the same way you know that. So unfortunately, there's a lot of signs of fatigue out there. And I think that's actually maybe the biggest issue. I think Gunn also had a divided DC fan base. To be fair to Gunn, it was divided before he got there. To be, well, I still think fair, but also not nice, he made it worse. You guys know how I feel about this. I legitimately think he made it worse by attacking journalists, by attacking fans on social media. He has given ammunition to Snyder people and all of that sort of stuff. I think he's done a pretty terrible job of being an ambassador for the DC brand overall. So we'll see how this all plays out. We'll see. But Chris, I think you have some points there. John Cross says, "Sup, man? Hope you're doing well. Nerd Vengers for life." Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you. Kaylin J says, "I think this is a Superman we have to grow with. He's still fighting, figuring out his place in the world. But that feeling of hope is what will resonate with fans." That's absolutely fair. You know, it's something I try to bring this up. Sometimes I forget. It's fair that this could be a Clark that is still developing. And, you know, a lot of people had issues with Cavill's Superman, and maybe for different reasons. You know, because Cavill's Superman was a little bit darker, maybe stoic to a fault. You know, there's the whole stuff with his dad, and there's a lot of people that were like, dude, what? But I think the defenders, and I think this was a fair point, Zach was going to take him on a journey to get more to the place of being the Boy Scout. So it's a little unfair to judge, like, the Superman at the start of a cinematic universe to the Superman you'll see as things go, right? But the only caveat to that within this exact example is that this Superman feels more lived in. Like, there's a Justice League, there's Maxwell Lord, there's LexCorp, there's all these things. This isn't like Man of Steel, where he's the first metahuman to, like, really emerge. No, this is a fully formed DC universe. So in that respect, like, Superman should be a little bit more developed, frankly. You know? So we'll see. Aaliyah says, "I agree with you about Andor, yet silver lining hope it gets on Nielsen overall and/or Emmy nom so that KK can have the win to announce her retirement." Yeah, you brought this up in the DMs too, and I think it's a funny point. So, like, Aaliyah, and by the way, this is called, well, it's not quite acceleration theory, but so we know that Kathy's been looking for a dub. She's looking for a win, and then she wants to get out of Dodge. And she hasn't been able to get one because she's terrible. So if she can spin Andor Season 2 in some way that it feels like that win she's looking for, Aaliyah's like, I want that to happen so that Kathy gets the fuck out of there. And to be honest with you, that's not bad. That's not a bad, you know what I mean? Like, I get what she's saying, so that's kind of funny. Chris says with a 10 spot, appreciate you, brother, says, "Superman also looks really goofy." I mean, you're not wrong. My dad saw the trailer and went, "What's with the dog in the cape? And they're going back to the red underwear? What the fuck?" I feel like they have a hard time getting normies. Well, we're going to start to see if that's true. I think it's too early to call, but it's not that early. We're 2 months away from the movie. We're going to get that info. Like, we're going to get that tracking. We're going to get the info. And we're going to see what it is. You know, Gunn said something interesting the other day. I mean, I almost think everything he says on social media is a mistake, including this. But it was kind of insightful. Somebody replied to him and said, people are getting so weird about Superman or something like that. And he was like, "You're telling me." And I'm just like, dude, even if that's true, even if you feel that way, don't say it. You've just given ammunition. Basically, that means that this dude is fully aware that a shit ton of people online are not jiving with what he's doing. Why would you even, like, bring that up? Why would you give any ammunition to that? So now we know that the guy that's writing, directing the movie, and the president of the whole fucking studio is concerned with how negative people are on the internet about Superman. Holy, like, I'm just telling you, like, and this is how you guys are going to catch, you're getting me to be very toxic about this. I'll try to say it in a very polite way. There's no good way for a person that can't help but put their foot in their mouth. There's no good way for them to be active on social media. It actually doesn't matter if he has a point. It actually doesn't matter if he's right. He's saying it in the worst way. And there are people like that. And they should not be the ambassadors for billion-dollar brands on social media. Just get off social media, please. Okay, anyway. Jonathan says, I did not like the first season of Andor or the first half of the second season. I did, however, quite enjoy the last 6 episodes of the show. Yeah, I've heard this a lot. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't heard that. A lot of people seem to really enjoy, particularly the last 3 episodes. But yeah, the last 6. Yeah, I don't, I don't want to like tell people like, oh, you're not valid, or like, nah, dude, fuck that show. Like, all I can say is the show is not Star Wars to me. I reject the show. I can't support the show, but also like if you watch the show and you had a good time with it, like Bob's your uncle, man. That's great. IQ Barry says, closing in on 2 years as a nerd-venger. You're literally the only creator I sub to because you're just the realest one on the internet. Much love. Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Like, seriously. By the way, is the audio okay here? Like, something's going on with my audio, but I don't know if it's just me. Are you guys okay? Audio good? Okay, I think I fixed it. Yeah, I really appreciate that, man. I'd like to believe that I'm, like, super fair and I try to keep it real, but I don't know. Like, unless there were a whole bunch of you guys that were saying, like, what you say, I don't know that I would feel truly like I was doing it. So it's nice to hear that it is there and that you guys appreciate it. So thank you. Renee says, Andor, I like it. Could have been better if they followed him and the other rebel spies. Think live-action tales of series, the rebels, the partisans, etc. I mean, that sounds pretty exciting. It sounds far more adventurous, so I'd probably get down with it a little bit more. Really appreciate you, man. 58 months. 58 months. Holy, bro. And I still remember doing the Defense of the Tower with you, and that video you sent in, man. Those were crazy fucking times, dude. Appreciate you. Click Clack with a 5 spot says, yo, I get it if you don't want to talk about it, but F Zach Nicholas, what a weirdo. What even was that? Felt so weird and off. Zach Nicholas. Am I missing something here? Why do I feel like I'm about to look very foolish? Who is Zach Nicholas? Or maybe it's a typo? I don't know. I don't know what that is. If you can clarify that. Smokey Kenobi says, could they be doing something like Spider Island or whatever in Rivals? I'm not too familiar comics-wise. Nerd Venge for Life, almost 3 years. Baby, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for almost 3 years. It would likely be more like Spider Island from the Battleworld books on Secret Wars, which, by the way, kind of some good news, kind of some positive news here. So part of the research I was doing over the past couple of days was like, man, what kind of videos should I make? Because, like, I want to make videos that matter. I want to put myself into the videos a little bit more. And yet I also acknowledge that, like, hey, if a crazy Marvel leaks happen, like, y'all just want to know about the leaks. You don't want me to, like, craft this video. It's like, you just want to hear about the leaks. I totally get it. But I went back and looked at how some of the videos were performing on the channel, and the comic book breakdown I did for 2015 Secret Wars is up over 70K. And I was like, dude, we can make more of these. And I love that video. I put so much into that video. It's supposed to be, I tried to make it really funny. And so I'm happy to report that those views can justify that input. And so I'm going to work on the next one. I'm going to do Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four. So that's the next one. We're going to work on that. Hopefully have that out in the next week or two. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of positive, Maybe I'll do a Spider Island one for you, Smokey Kenobi. That's kind of what made me think of it. Optimus Prime Ribs in the 5 spot says, timeline doesn't matter if they come from an alternate Earth like F4. That is true. In the multiverse, they could be from the Earth where World War II was yesterday. I totally agree with you, and yet it does not seem like that is what they are going to do. I think that's a perfect way to solve that problem. But maybe they think that the multiverse stuff is, people are kind of over it. They need to use it in Doomsday and Secret Wars. So maybe they're like, that's it, you know? But yeah, I understand what you're saying. That makes sense. Morpho Knots, what's up, brother? Can you believe I still haven't been over to the P.O. box? I'm going to get over there today. I want to get those toys. Says, hey, dude, I was contacted by a major streaming network, and I'm partnering with them on a project, but I think there's a huge opportunity for you with them as well. Let me know if you're interested to chat. I would love to chat. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Discord. Send me an email. Let's get together on that. That sounds fun, man. Let's do it. By the way, I signed a really crazy NDA this week. I can't obviously turn around and just tell you what it was, but I may or may not be participating in something pretty cool and super nerdy. That's about all I could say, but it's really cool. But Duncan says, real David Leitch heads know Eraserhead is goated. That's David Lynch, not David Leitch. But I did love David Lynch, man. I mean, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, like... I even watched his short film in film school. Brandon says, welcome back, Josh. Appears the break treated you well. Your hair is great. You look more cut, and your skin is cleaner, too. Oh, wow, really? What the fuck? That's so nice. I thought I was sweating up here looking like a goddamn Neanderthal, so thank you. Appreciate it. Joshua says, Tom and the symbiote beside Doom would be sick. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah, brother. That would be sick. Noah says, the other day, Vandolph was teaching me about blood formula. With your experience in film school, do you have any expertise in that arena? Much love, sir. Blood formula. I don't know that I know what you're talking about. Is that a movie? Blood formula. I mean, it sounds intriguing. Consider me intrigued. Braden with 3 gifted members. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And then Kaylin says, let's skip Magneto's origin. I'm black fatigued. We have enough slave films and too many bigots on the net, and the Holocaust is too contentious. Dude, I mean, I don't know that I fully agree with you on everything you just said, but I think like we're both in the same boat of like, just don't do this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't, because I understand what you're saying. I think you're absolutely right. And by the way, this shit happens, man. Like I know we talk about these things sometimes, and then it can get sensitive, or we feel emotionally connected to it. But like, it doesn't actually matter what the thing is. You can get fatigued of anything. There were and studios will do this. Like if a studio, like I'll give you one example. Apparently, in the original version of Dark Phoenix, there were going to be shapeshifters that were very close to the idea of the scroll. Fox, after seeing what Marvel was cooking with Captain Marvel, which was going to come out first, cut it out of the film completely. And the reason they did this was because of fatigue. And a little bit, they didn't want people just thinking they were copying them or whatever. But like, look, this is what Hollywood does, this is what business does. They find something that works, they beat it to death to the point where the audience is fatigued of it, and then they have to move on to the other thing. Right? And so like, all I'm trying to say, and I think what Kaylin's sort of saying here too, is like, this is just not the time to do this. The audience is not at the place that I think Marvel thinks they are at. Right? So it's like, yo, this is just not the time for this. And that is coming from a guy that actually would personally enjoy it. I would be like down. I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. Shockwave Lab with a 10 spot says, to me, Clark showed that he's still young and brash and hasn't had the losses yet that make him into a calm and calculated Superman. He still has a lot to learn. Fair, but is that not the same thing that people took issue with Zack Snyder's Superman? Like, because I got to tell you, and I'm not trying to necessarily poke the bear here, but there's a lot of hypocrisy from the DC fandom that are praising some of the same things they clowned on Snyder for. when it comes to James Gunn's thing. I have seen a lot of that, right? So, and by the way, totally valid what you're saying. But all I want to point out is that is exactly the thing that people dogged on Snyder's Superman for. Why didn't he take them out of Metropolis? Why does he kill Zod? Why didn't he save his dad? All of these are from the same concept. It's the same idea. He has a lot to learn. Your words, Shockwave Lab. Interesting. Scott says with a 5 spot, happy Friday, everyone. Appreciate you, Josh. Fantastic Four to the moon. I bet it's making $1 billion. Nerd Avengers for life. I think Fantastic Four is going to do fine. But then again, I thought Thunderbolts would do a little better. So I don't know. We'll see, man. Captain Zugut says, is Luke or Leia going to chill on the couch for the DL stream? We love the puppy cameos. They're our homies. Much love. Yeah, we can bring them in here. They love to be in here, man. They just like to be around Dad, you know? They are good. I mean, look, they're not good dogs, but I'll say that they're good dogs because I love them. Crazy 8 says, could it be that with Lois is the best and safest place for Superman to be able to let off steam and pop off due to always having to stay calm in public? Yeah, but the problem with that is, and I understand what you're saying, that's cool, but the problem with that is that if he doesn't understand that when you agree to an interview with Lois Lane, you are speaking to the entire world and not just Lois Lane, then he's like just not a very smart Superman. You know? So that's not great. Plus, like, we shouldn't trauma dump on anybody, frankly, but men, we should not trauma dump on our partners. Just going to tell you that. Do not trauma dump on your partner. Delta Dan says, set 1. Oh, rather, you gifted a membership. Appreciate you, brother. John Cross says with a 10 spot, you can delete the 12 Avenger thread, but you will feel bad when the 12 actually means something in Doomsday and Secret Wars. As Marvel says in the post-credit scenes, the 12 Avengers will return. Love y'all. You're good, bro. You're good. The 12 thing, I mean, did it irritate me a little bit? Sure, but it's not, I don't consider it to be toxic. And that's all I'll say. You know? John Cross says, Josh, you going to ban all the people that don't like Snooze Hammer now? Yes. Now that is a fucking bannable offense. If you don't like Warhammer, you're done. You're done around here. RJ Phillips says, over 2 years of nerd venging. Let's go. Thank you for this community. Take this weekend with the kids at Graham's to teach Elisa Warhammer. Nerd Vengers for life. Well, you know, look, life doesn't stop. We've got a lot we're trying to do in the home and just, you know, in general. So I've got a lot of work to do this weekend. I want to do some yard work, but we're also going to try to relax a little bit, you know? Like, Liam is at a, let's call it an interesting age. Elisa and I are both in a bit of uncharted water here. So TLDR is that, like, Elisa worked in childcare for a long time. And so she's super mom, dude. Like, she knows so much just from her time working with all these other kids. But we realized that the oldest kids she ever spent time with were about 2. Liam is almost 3. So this is really uncharted territory for both of us. And if you know anything about toddlers, they are a handful. So Elise and I are going to probably have just some chill time this weekend. You know what I mean? But yeah, appreciate the thought. Kyber Sith says with a $20 holla, that is generous, brother, says thank you for your love and passion doing this channel, gifting us an awesome and sweaty, hard-headed community. You're a part of my daily. I tell people you the truth. Long live the Den of Nerds, Nerd Vengers for life. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you for all the years of support, and thank you for understanding when Papa needs to take a break. You know what I mean? So thank you so much, man. Lightning Slug says, another heartfelt thank you for your love and passion for all nerdy things. You truly help us get through the day-to-day. Long live the Nerd Vengers. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. The Sync Lord says, Josh, where were you? Thought you put hands on somebody and got locked up. Let's keep it nerdy, y'all. Hope all is well, bro. Consensus on soups. No. Luckily, no trouble like that. Consensus on soups, man. I mean, I think most people are down. It's hard because, look, there's a couple of things going on. Number one, I don't necessarily love everything that Gunn is doing, so like it's hard. Like, am I being biased? That's part of it. Also, I think as James himself admitted yesterday, stupidly, there's a lot of noise, a lot of negativity online, and so it's hard to sort of like how much of that is real, how much is maybe either botted or exaggerated. I can't get a good read on how the wider public is feeling about Superman. I think we'll get more of an idea very soon. For me, like, there's stuff I don't like, there's stuff I do like. I'm actually excited, not just about the movie, but about the universe. DC, finally getting some justice. Like, dude, to be honest with you, there's a part of me that's just like, man, people are actually excited about DC characters. How could I be upset about that? That's fucking phenomenal, I just wish that Superman wasn't like, hey, stop looking at my dick, and then takes off. It's like, fuck. So it's tough. Tough one, man. I don't know. Perez says, what time for the Diamond? Nerdvengers for life. Unity. We're going to go at 6 tonight. I might have a drink, but we're not going to do Diamond. It's not like, I guess if you really want me to, I could talk a little bit about the aliens or whatever. But I prefer just to talk about the community tonight. Optimus Prime Rib says, is that you in the Cracker Barrel campfire spot? I have no idea what you're talking about, but yes. Nathan Riviera says, what happened to the whiteboard 40K stream, Josh? You're right. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do it next week. I mean, dude, I wrote a Warhammer script that's over 11 pages, and it's only 2 of the 3 parts. And I was just like, holy shit. Look, I didn't actually want to go into a Warhammer discussion right now, but over the past couple of days, like, I've done some Marvel work, I've done some Warhammer work. The Marvel work tends to be like, what could I even say? What video do I even make? The Warhammer work is more like, oh my God, I want to talk about everything. So it's just a different vibe, man. Trying to do my best. There's a lot of stuff within Marvel that I am excited about. But I'm clearly just way more passionate about Warhammer right now. It has really captured my imagination. And so I'm going to put that energy into some content. I'm going to be making a lot of Warhammer content soon. But yeah. I meant Matt Nicholas. My bad. He was the actor with a bunch of followers who was saying you were racist in all of your videos. I just thought it was weird. Oh, yeah. This guy. Okay, yeah. So this is apparently some writer, high-profile person on Twitter or whatever. He's got like 70,000 followers. So this guy was, he like had said something, had chimed in on one of my tweets or something and said, like, something about how, like, all of my takes or tweets were, like, bigoted or racist or whatever, and I was one of these, like, go woke, go broke people or whatever. Like, he literally thinks I'm that. And I just said something like, show me in any video or stream where I have had a racist take. Show me in any video or stream where I have said, get woke, go broke. You know what I mean? And like, he was like, it's in all your videos, like an idiot. And the truth is, that's actually libelous. I could potentially file a lawsuit against this person because he's high profile, besmirching my name. And if he had made like an article or a video or something like that, maybe I would have considered it. I thought about it for a second. And I was like, you know what? Like, let's just keep it moving. The reality is, people like this guy are so bad faith that they've shifted the Overton window to the point where racist is shorthand for person I don't like. And the irony of that is that that does more to hurt conversations of identity, race, racial issues. These people are actually doing more to hurt the actual causes that they claim to represent than any of the people that they think I am. But there is a grand cosmic justice beyond what I can do that awaits these kind of folks. Whether it's the shame they eventually feel when they come to the light, or the fact that their next life there'll be some slug as they're reincarnated, or maybe worse. I'm good. Philip Hatch says with a 5 spot, Elisa popping up in the tower the other day was great time. LOL, Nerd Vengers for life. Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment where I said, I literally said, I was like, I need to get off of this Discord because I was getting pretty upset with some of you guys. And maybe not even fair. Maybe it wasn't even fair, right? But I told Elisa, I said, hey, I was like, you need to watch these kids for a little bit. I was talking about you guys on Discord. And I was like, I'll watch the real kids or whatever, right? So that was just a moment where she chimed in. She wanted to just bring some motherly energy in there. And so I'm glad you appreciated it. Kyber Sith says, Josh, when was the last time you watched Rambo First Blood? Oh, dude, long time, but I love that movie. Mang, they don't make movies like they used to. Talk about full testosterone. Well, you know the thing that's weird about, oh man, you're going to catch me monologuing again. Those were conservative cops that wanted Rambo out of their town. I think that's so understated these days, and it just speaks to like how these perceived sides or these political affiliations ebb and flow and change. But like, so they thought he was a hippie or a beatnik. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they were like, get this hippie out of our town because he had longer hair. Dude, it's such a good movie. You should watch it. It's crazy. And if you know a lot about like what actually was happening, people that came back from Vietnam, because like, dude, Vietnam, I mean, we're pretty far removed from it now. And I think there's a lot of younger people that don't maybe appreciate what happened, but it was a deep psychological wound to this country that in some ways we actually haven't even recovered from. And Rambo plays off of that beautifully. It's a great movie. Joshua says, Liam with Graham, Josh trying for kid number 3. Hey, it's a family show. But I mean, maybe. We'll see. All right, everybody. I'm going to get on out of here. But I will hang out for a little bit in the chat. Anything else on your mind? Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? What's up? How y'all doing? Everybody okay? Is everybody okay? You guys okay? Let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, appreciate you. W Stream, not Rambo. Josh, love you, bro. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Much love right back, Kendall. W Stream, it's nice having you back for a couple of hours. Hell yeah. W Stream, thanks, man. I'm glad you guys liked it. Did you see the Doom in F4? No, show. What's that? Hit me. Doom in F4? Hit me. What's that about? Where's that at? I'm fine. We're all fine here. How are you? Josh, do you think Necromunda would be a good setting for the Amazon War Hamster show? Nah, but I don't really know too much about Necromunda, to be honest. I mean, the models look sick, and I've heard the game's really fun, but I don't know too much about it. No. So I can't really say. You renovated your room? Nah, but I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about renovating it a bit, yeah. Abe, what's up, brother? Been away for a while, working nonstop, now catching up. I watched the 3-hour live stream May the 5th. Loved every minute. Your children are lucky they have a father like you. I think your children are lucky to have a father like you, brother. Right back at you. Have you cleaned your AC air filter? It's on top of the inside unit. I have not this season, and I probably need to, yeah. Josh, I want to smoke with you so bad. You know what's funny? One of the Nerd Vengers, who I may or may not have had a couple puffs with outside of Cleveland, we were talking about that too, man. Yeah, it's a nice vibe, right? It's chillax, you know, burn a couple down, talk about the universe, talk about God. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do, you know. Maybe someday. Yeah. Daniel got the sauce and the fresh air. Daniel does have incredible hot sauce. I probably have some right here. Yeah, I got some right here. Daniel Haas Sinister Six sauce. That shit's good. I should probably re-up, to be honest with you. Who's that Doom wannabe in the Ironheart trailer? So that would be the Hood, who is actually a really cool character. The Hood actually gets all of the gems from the Gauntlet at one point, actually. Pretty wild. The Hood's cool. Kind of like a gun-wielding sorcerer. Yeah. But, of course, the Ironheart thing, and it's funny, that's the first time Ironheart has come up all day today. Yeah, I'm just not feeling it, man. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I think Marvel's reputation, Daredevil kind of broke me. I said after Daredevil, I'm probably not watching another Disney Plus show all year. I did actually turn around and watch Tales of the Underworld, which I thought was great. Dave Filoni, Star Wars. But, yeah, I can't really bring myself to watch Ironheart. I don't think it's going to be consequential. I don't think it's going to be high quality. I think this trailer somehow looks worse than the trailer from 2 years ago, which is, like, mind-blowing. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to get excited about a show that I don't think Marvel's getting excited about. I mean, they're dropping 3 episodes in week 1, 3 episodes in week 2. The thing's over in 2 weeks. The trailer was dropped the same day as Superman got buried. I mean, I think Marvel is all but admitting that they're embarrassed. I mean, you guys know where I'm at with it. I think they should have canceled it. I think they should have canceled a lot of shit. But they're not going to. So I'm good. I'm going to cancel it for me. Now, I will say one thing, though. If not just one, not just a few, but if a lot of you start saying stuff like, oh, bro, you got to watch this, though. Like, this part was actually fire. And I hear it from, like, a lot of you. I would check something out. You know what I mean? But that's what it would have to take. Like, it would have to be, like, my whole community and then, like, people on social media being like, yeah, but this one episode of Ironheart is kind of fucking lit. If that happened, if you guys give it a seal of approval or whatever, I'll check it out. Otherwise, no, because I don't want to be fatigued. I need a break so that I can get excited about next year, you know? But Duncan says, got eventual plans for a couple of beers with Kyber, Larold, and hopefully some other Colorado Nerdvengers in Denver. Join us, Josh, and everyone else. Dude, I would love to come to Denver. I mean, Rob's in Denver, I do believe. I'd love to see him. I got some friends from high school that live in Denver. So, yeah, man, maybe later this year, maybe next year or something like that. I'd love to come to Denver. Have you ever watched Landman? Nerderotic RK, and a bunch of people love it. I have not watched Landman. I've heard good things. I did start Mobland last night, which I did see some people talking about. Like, I saw Gary talking about it. I saw Paul from Heavy Spoilers talking about it. I saw a lot of people talking about Mobland, and I was like, okay, I'll check out Mobland. It's fucking phenomenal, dude. Like, it is so good. It's so good. I actually am kind of jonesing to binge more of it tonight. So, believe it or not, Elisa and I might just watch a lot of Mobland tonight. Yeah. No, I've heard good things about... What's the one you said? Landman. Mobland and Landman. Those are too close. Leon the Professional. Now, that's a good fucking movie, dude. You don't shoot in the face. If they can't identify the target, you don't get paid. I show you the ring trick. I love that movie. That's a good movie. I talked to Ian McDermott, and he said he'd be willing to do an interview with you. Oh, yeah? Hit me up. Hit me up. Twitter. Gmail. thedenofnerds@gmail.com. Hit me up on Discord. Send me a raven. Send me an owl. Do you think Alan Ritchson would be a good Aquaman for the DC? I think he could be a good Aquaman. I mean, I kind of want him as Batman. Does the Aqua? I mean, here's the thing. I think the reason people don't see him as Batman is because he's so big. He's gonna make everybody else look goofy. But is there any character he could play where that wouldn't be a thing? Bane, maybe? What about Power Man? Or no, what's the DC version of Power Man? The guy's he's like nuclear. I'm blanking on his name. Solomon Grundy? Yeah, maybe. He played Hawk in the Titans show. That's true, but he was Adam, Captain Adam. What about Captain Adam? Where are we at with the Nerd Warhammer stream? Close. A lot of things being pulled together. I'm actually doing a lot of collaborations in the next couple of weeks. And they're going to be real cool. So, hell yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, look, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for the support. I'll be live tonight at 6 for the members. Otherwise, there might be a video over the weekend. If not, we'll be back at it on Monday. We should be back to our regular schedule next week. And I'm really looking forward to playing some Marvel Rivals with you guys. We got to figure out our community Marvel Rivals tournament. So maybe we can talk about that tonight a little bit as well. But yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Lots of fun news today. Much love. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Leave. Symbiote Tom beside Doom would hit hard in Doomsday. I think I already read that. You might have sent that twice. Ethan, welcome to the Nerdvengers, brother. You are a Nerdvenger now. Hey man, that was a good one. That was good. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being patient. I needed a couple of days just to gather up all my marbles. Trust me, there's a lot of stuff going on. You guys don't see, kids, family, all kinds of shit. So just go easy on me, and I needed those days. I'm feeling good. This was good. We're going to talk at 6, and we're going to keep on keeping on. I'll see you guys next week, too, and we'll keep it moving, okay? So thank you so much. We'll be back at it next week better than ever. All right, everybody. Hey, do me one favor, though. Just one. Actually, two. First, open up your third eye. And you know the other one. Clean out your stinky butt.